So chapter 1 of Eden Zero came out today. I've got 3 note cards front and back, and we're going to talk about it. So if you don't know by now, Eden Zero is Hiro Mashima's latest work in the manga serialization. If you don't know who Hiro Mashima is, he is the creator of the series Rave Master and also the very popular Fairy Tail, which I would rank among the top 3 shonen manga / anime that have graced this wonderful earth. Can't wait for the final season of the anime coming out in the fall. However, we're not here to talk about that. We are here to talk about his newest work, Eden Zero, which has been kind of in the works for, I believe he left a note in the first chapter. It was 11 months that he's been working on this new project here, and it is supposed to be a departure from Fairy Tail, so not really related at all. However, we will see some similarities kind of tying over from that Fairy Tail to this new series here. So my plan is, I've read through the first chapter. I've read through it twice. I've done one time just kind of to read it for enjoyment, because I am very interested in this, because I do love Fairy Tail, and I would love to see where he goes with this. But then I read it again, and like I said, I took some notes. I have 3 note cards here, 1, 2, 3. They are all front and back, filled with some notes on what my thoughts were kind of going through the chapter, picking out some key points. And we're going to do kind of a review / discussion. Now I'm pretty sure I can't put any pictures of the manga on screen as we go through this, because I think that's kind of copyright and a little bit illegal. I know that you guys can read the manga for yourself through Crunchyroll, and I believe there was another site. I'll put it up on the screen. I can't remember what it was called, but I'm not gonna say that you can't just Google Eden Zero Chapter 1 on the internet and find it for yourself. I'm not going to leave a link to anything like that, but you can if you do want to save some money. I do know how that is. Anyways, we're going to start off. My first thing here is the way the first chapter starts off is we are greeted with a color sequence, right? It's a little bit smaller. Manga is normally in black and white, but this is full color, and it shows our main character along with the kind of demon-looking machine with the horns and another robot that we will learn more about later. And it's when the main character is very young, probably about 6 or 7, and they're just kind of looking up at the stars, talking about how what the stars are, and a shooting star flies by, and apparently shooting stars in this world are known as dragons, and that kind of comes back into play near the end of the chapter, and we'll talk about that at that point. But we just kind of see this relationship between the demon robot, who we will soon find is the Demon King, and the main character, and it's a very playful relationship, kind of bantering back and forth. But after we are greeted with that, it kind of brings out the main focus of what I think this manga is going to be, and kind of Hiro Mashima's works, especially Fairy Tail, kind of revolve around the theme of friendship. And we get this quote here from the Demon King saying, "If you get friends that will cry for you, never let go." And again, that's going to show itself again later on in the chapter as we go through it. So then after that, we are taken back into what I would guess is the official first chapter of the manga, black and white, and we are greeted with our female protagonist of this, which does look very similar to Lucy, but it is actually, her name is Rebecca, and she is traveling with Happy, which is basically the same Happy from Fairy Tail. If you watch Fairy Tail, you know who Happy is. If you've read Fairy Tail, I guess, too. And he's basically the same character here. No real changes. But Rebecca does seem very different from Lucy. And they are traveling to Granbell Kingdom, right? Which is apparently an old theme park that was run by robots that nobody has been to for 100 years, is what we find out later. Rebecca and Happy are the first customers that they've received in 100 years. And a very interesting thing, which I didn't really expect to see, is Rebecca's whole thing is she's a YouTuber. right? So her kind of thing is she's like, oh, we're gonna go to this castle, this kingdom theme park, and we're gonna make a video, and we're gonna get so many views. It's gonna be so great. And kind of when she shows up, all the robots get super excited, and they throw like this big opening ceremony welcoming with like trumpets and all confetti and all the stuff like that. This big shebang. And then she's like, wait a minute, take a step back. I wasn't recording. Do it again. She like pulls out her camera, and it's kind of really funny to kind of see this comical take on like what a YouTuber does, which I think is really interesting to see how that's going to play into the story and what it goes into. Granbell Kingdom is the kingdom of dreams, and they'll make like your wishes come true. And they ask, what is your wish? And she says she wants 1 million subscribers for her channel, and the robots are kind of like, what the hell is this girl talking about? It's really kind of funny, a funny moment. And I have a side note here that Rebecca loves cats. We see she goes on one of the quests that Granbell Kingdom offers, kind of as like a little fun side quest, and they run into this giant robot cat, and Rebecca realizes it's a cat, and she's like, oh, it's so cute, and it's interesting. And she has these cat ears that she wears for like her YouTube videos, I guess, which again kind of brings it together with her traveling with Happy and everything like that. So, back of card number 1. Once she runs in this quest and runs into the giant cat, we are then introduced to the main protagonist. Now he is all grown up, and we learn that his name is Shiki. Shiki Granbell. Apparently Hiro Mashima has used that name in the past. I'm not quite familiar with what it was used in, but he has a side note in the manga in chapter 1 saying like, oh, I've used it in the past, but it has a special place for me, so he's using it again. Apparently it's a far removed character from the original. And I have some notes here about Shiki. He's been the only human on this island, or in Granbell Kingdom, ever. He's the only one there. It's just him and all these other robots kind of running the kingdom, and like I said, they haven't seen any customers in over 100 years, and he hasn't been there for that long. So I believe it's 10 years he's been there. So obviously he hasn't interacted with any other humans, and I believe it's ever. So, you know, Shiki, he kind of goes, he meets Rebecca, and he's kind of taken aback, like, oh man, another human. And he's got this weird sense of awkwardness to him. You can kind of tell in the manga with the way he's drawn, with the faces and stuff like that. And he gets a little excited. Obviously, he sees Happy, and apparently he wants to eat Happy for some reason, which is kind of funny. I'm assuming that's going to kind of come up throughout the manga as a little bit of a side joke. And then, of course, Japanese manga, you gotta have the fan service. Shiki is kind of just checking out Rebecca, moving stuff around, squeezing her face, and he goes in, grabs her boobs, and it's a funny moment. Punches him right off the bat at that, and he's laying on the floor and kind of looking up at her, and is like, oh, so you're a girl. And she makes the comment to stop looking up her skirt, which of course we're gonna get that. I mean, that's kind of the classic anime tropes, manga tropes there. And then, so after that happens, Shiki kind of gets up and very awkwardly and almost reluctantly and hesitantly, nervous, I guess you could say, he kind of reaches out his hand and like stutters, saying like, let's be friends. So that's kind of his whole thing, learning from this Demon King, is you always want to make friends. And like I said, this is going to be a theme throughout the manga that we are going to see reoccurring. And she immediately rejection, punches him in the face, and is like, what's with this guy, you know, scaring me like that. She walks away and kind of follows her around, and she gets away from him, runs back into the little tavern, and is like, who's this kid here? And apparently we find out that, again, it's revealed to us that Shiki has been the only human on this kingdom for the 100 years, ever since they stopped receiving customers, and he's kind of friends with everybody here and all the robots. And they have, you know, they throw a whole big party celebrating Rebecca coming and everybody being friends, right? So it's a nice little happy moment. And it cuts to a scene of a archer robot kind of looking in the window, kind of ominously. He runs back to this big castle, and it's almost in like a dungeon basement. You see him talking to this ominous looking king, right, in a throne robot, obviously, and he's got like these tubes running into him, and it looks like like a really serious, kind of scary scene, saying like talking about how there's this girl showed up, and you know, they need to take the next step in their plan. So after that whole ominous scene with this robot king, it cuts back to the party, and we learn more that Shiki is kind of here as a repairman for all the robots in the kingdom, and that's kind of what he's been doing for the past 10 years. Just when the robots need him, he breaks out his wrench, repairs them, and they all kind of live together as a happy family. And then he just kind of, I don't know if this is a random thing or if it's going to be a recurring aspect of Shiki. He's just like, I'm tired, falls asleep on the spot, breaks the table, and is just out cold on the floor. And then the robots kind of notice Rebecca looking at him like, what's with this guy? And so they explain to her that Shiki was brought to this kingdom, this amusement park, 10 years ago by the Demon King for no reason. Like there's nothing explained about that or whatever. And it kind of says that the Demon King, it's revealed, like, she's like, oh, Demon King, what's with that? And it's revealed that they're kind of just, all the robots here are playing roles for the kingdom, right? So nobody's really like a Demon King or the true king of the land. It's just an amusement park, and these robots are programmed to have these specific roles, as like the tailor, the cafeteria lady, the Demon King, and the king himself, just to provide some examples. So then she's kind of like, oh, okay, that's cool. And we learn that the Demon King was kind of a grandpa to Shiki throughout his time and has since passed, right? So the Demon King is past, I guess you could say. He's no longer functioning, I guess, is the right words. So, moving on from that, that's kind of the end of the party scene. I'm moving to my next note card here. And Rebecca goes to sleep. And again, it brings back the whole YouTube thing where she's like, oh man, we got so much good footage today. And she's laying in bed and she's like, let's do some editing before we go to sleep. And again, I just think it's so interesting that he decided to take that aspect of like everyday life at this point and incorporate it into this fantasy manga that he's making. Anyways, after Rebecca goes to sleep, Shiki wakes up, and I forgot to mention that before she goes to sleep, she's like, oh man, can I cut this dude's hair? Because when he's first introduced, he's really kind of dirty, raggedy looking, has super long hair, and the robots are like, all right, whatever, you wanna do it, go ahead, cut his hair. So Shiki wakes up the next morning, his hair's cut, nice and clean, and all the kind of the PR pictures that we have, that's the look we have for him now. Looking a little like, again, that crossover, Gray and Natsu that everybody's been saying. And he wakes up and he's like, oh shoot, my hair's gone. Looking for everybody, all the robots. No robots are to be found. And after that, it cuts to Rebecca waking up, tied, hands, feet, standing up on a stake, basically like you're gonna burn her like a witch. All the robots are gathered in a circle around her. Happy's tied up next to her. She's kind of freaking out, like, oh, what's going on? And it turns out that the king reveals himself as basically the bad guy of this chapter, right? So he's saying that humans think of robots as an inferior race, and they're not going to take it anymore. They've been waiting all this time for another human to come with a ship that they can use to sail off of Grand Bell Kingdom, and kind of take their vengeance on all the humans that left them to rot for the past 100 years. And so this begins, the robots then begin to turn on Shiki and Rebecca. So Shiki runs outside, notices she's there, and he's like, whoa, what's going on? I thought we were all friends here. And he kind of starts to fight back against the robots to try and save Rebecca, because they do threaten to burn her at the stake and basically kill her here. So, the only reason that they said that they kept Shiki alive is because of the Demon King, right? That's the only reason that they didn't turn on him before. But now that this girl has come, Rebecca, with a ship that they can use, they're just, screw it, everybody, all the robots are going to turn. And it's kind of a dark moment where we see these robots. It's kind of like apocalyptic kind of fear that the robots are going to take over, and that's basically what happens. They have the emotionless face of a robot and like the eyes, and everybody's kind of turn in. They start to just like beat up on Shiki. Like he's like, what the heck is going on? He's so awestruck by the fact that apparently these robots have been deceiving him with their whole friendship for these past 10 years, and they really don't care about him. And they say his whole thing with being a repairman for them is all just a lie. He was just playing that role as he would in the kingdom as repairman, and it was really an auto repair system that had been doing everything for them. Anyways, this kind of leads into Rebecca. We transfer back to her, and she's like, this is wrong, you know, you guys said you were all friends. And we actually see she begins to cry, saying that they need to leave him alone and stuff. And Shiki notices this, and again, taking us back to the very beginning of this chapter where the Demon King says, if you find friends that will cry for you, never let them go. And Shiki kind of takes that to heart and freaks out, and in one foul swoop, just shown in time, busts out, breaks down all the robots. They go flying everywhere, and we see Shiki kind of standing up there, and he has on his hand like these weird markings, almost like an electronic circuit kind of looking thing. And he begins to fight, right? And the king kind of takes off his cloak and reveals a battle-ready armor. And switching to the back here. Here we go. And it marks on his arms, and he kind of begins to fight. He's like jumping around on walls, sticking to things. And Happy notices this and says like, oh, that's ether gear, apparently is how it works. And what it does is it channels the ether, like the raw ether inside of a human, and transfers it into kind of raw strength that can rival that of a machine. So again, we're having that I guess call, I don't know if it's a thing in Rave Master, but this call to ether, we had the ether nano in Fairy Tail that they could use to kind of use the magic. This is used for this ether gear that allows them to kind of fight in this world. Excuse me. So there's this awesome fight scene. It's very short with between Shiki and the king. He's kind of running around dodging bullets. The demon, or not the Demon King, the king is kind of like, you know, normal humans shouldn't be able to dodge shots as accurate. And Shiki comes in, he's dodging these bullets, and just one foul swoop, bop, uses this attack that I guess is named Dae Machina, D-A-E Machina, and just blows this king away. So Shiki's got some mad strength from the get-go. He knows how to fight. It's a little crazy. And in this punch, he crushes the king, and the ground beneath Rebecca, everybody, all the robots just crumbles and begins to fall to the ground, and there's nothing left kind of there. So Rebecca and Happy begin to fall. Shiki grabs them, and apparently it is then revealed that this ether gear that Shiki has is known as, got it on my next note card here, the ether gear of gravity. And apparently Happy knows all this stuff. You know, he's going to be the one character in this that kind of explains everything to us as we go through it. And so this ether gear of gravity can allow Shiki to kind of alter the pull of gravity, like the gravitational pull. So we see later on, after he saves them, he's like, where's your ship? Over there. He's like, boom, changing the gravity to pull us northwest, and they just all of a sudden gravity pulls them. They start to fall sideways through the sky. They get to the ship. Looking at my notes here, they get to the ship, and Shiki's like, look, you guys go, get on your ship, get out of here, I'm gonna stay back and fight. And there's kind of this moment where we see Shiki looking, and we see the robots, and one of the robots that was like his really good friend Michael is kind of staring at him. And then it's just kind of like this moment where you feel that he doesn't really want to fight these people, and it's kind of a sad moment, because then it cuts right out, you know, classic anime kind of feel. Pulls Shiki. He's like, Rebecca's like, nope, you're coming with us, not leaving a friend behind now. And again, that's another moment there where we see kind of Rebecca looking at Shiki, and there's like, oh, friendship blooming, and it's kind of cute. We'll have to see if this friendship blossoms into something more like a romance that we didn't get with Natsu and Lucy. But we'll not talk about that. So after that, they get in the ship and flies off, right? So this whole time we've been led to believe, oh, it's like a kingdom on an island, water, on a sailboat, like a ship, you know, because normally Hiro Mashima's been working with like fantasy kind of things like that. But turns out this is all a spaceship, and they're flying off into space. So we are then kind of, I don't want to say it's revealed to us because we kind of already assumed, but it is definitely a sci-fi fantasy themed manga. That's kind of the genre that it's going for. And it's revealed that this whole big world is known as the Sakura Cosmos. And as they're flying through the sky, a shooting star flies past the spaceship, and it is revealed. Rebecca's like, oh, out here, these are known as, and then Shiki says, dragons. And we see this close-up of the shooting star, and it is, in fact, a mechanical-looking dragon flying through the sky. So, apparently, assumingly, those are going to be playing a big role throughout the series, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see more about that. So, moving on to the back of my last card here. After that kind of scene with Rebecca and Shiki flying off from Granbell Kingdom, it cuts back to the kingdom itself, and we see the king laying on the floor, and this is where he reveals his true plan. And this is where chapter 1 kind of hits you pretty big and kind of deep and makes you feel for this and kind of want to learn, kind of want to keep following, I guess you could say. But apparently the whole point of what all the robots did, kind of turning on Shiki and like saying all this stuff about how they're gonna take vengeance on the human race and they were never really family and hated him. It was all a plot to get Shiki to leave Granbell Kingdom, because apparently the robots were running out of time on their kind of internal clocks, like they were gonna start to malfunction and break down and just be dead, right? And so they've staged this whole thing, because they're all performers on this, like robot performers. They staged this whole thing so Shiki is almost forced to leave the island and kind of get out, because once they die, he would have been the only one there and had no way to get out. And that was what the Demon King's last wish was, to, before they ran out of time, to find somebody to send Shiki off with. And it's sort of a bittersweet moment, right? Because the scene, the way it plays out is right after we kind of hear this, we see like the deed has been done. The robots say like, we fulfilled the promise to you, Demon King. You know, Shiki's gone. He's gonna have his journey and live his life with other people away from us. And then all the robots, it's slow, you know. I mean, it's a manga, so you just kind of look at it. But the way the pictures are drawn, you can see that it's very surreal and quiet, and all the robots just kind of die all at once. And you know, you see like some of the robots are like embraced with each other, and it's kind of sad, because you know they don't have feelings, right? They're just robots, but it kind of hits you, you know. All these people just kind of died and basically were on a ticking clock to run out of time and to kind of save this boy that has been living with them for the past 10 years. And it's pretty sad. I really like that part. I think it adds a lot of emotion and weight to this first chapter, and hopefully stuff like that continues throughout the series, because, you know, that's what makes it good. So that isn't the end of chapter 1. It's very close to the end, but it cuts to a final thing with Shiki in the ship, and he's looking back at his home planet, Granbell Kingdom, and he's kind of like, oh man, stuff went down. And it kind of like dawns on him. I don't know if he realizes it was a plot or he's just kind of like coming to terms with it, but he accepts what happened and kind of just cries out that he says thank you to everybody, all the robots that were down there, and he says thank you. He's never going to forget them. You know, they're his family. They kind of raised him, and it's sad to see him go. We can see tears in his eyes, but he's gonna go out and he's gonna make 100 friends in the universe. That's kind of the last thing that chapter 1 shows us, is that Shiki's kind of goal, his statement, is he's going to make all these friends in the vast, expansive Sakura Cosmos. So, I'm not sure how long that was. We're going on 25 minutes. Dang, alright. So, with that said, that is chapter 1 of Eden Zero, kind of a recap for those of you that weren't able to read it yourself. I'm going to try, if you guys like these videos, I know it's kind of long, I'm going to try and condense it. I'm going to keep doing these every week as the chapters come out, because I do want to keep up with this manga, and I hope you guys do too, because it is going to be a fun ride. Hiro Mashima is a great artist and writer, and again, if you like this video, leave a like down below. Let me know if you want to check out Eden Zero. If you're going to check out Eden Zero, tell me that down in the comments. And yeah, I guess I'll see you in the next video. Hey, thanks for watching. Not many people make it this far, but since you did, how about you drop a like and a comment down below telling me what you thought. And since we both know you're not doing anything right now, how about you hit subscribe and check out my next video over there. Right there. Just click it. It's right there. Go ahead. I'll wait.